Here's why a woman pushes you away when she wants you most. Female psychology. Have you ever been completely confused when a woman who seemed really into you suddenly started pulling away? She was texting you constantly then, radio silence. She was warm and affectionate, then suddenly cold and distant. What if I told you that this seemingly contradictory behavior actually means she wants you more, not less? Stay with me because today we're diving deep into female psychology to understand this fascinating paradox. Welcome back to Daily Stoic Mindset, and if you're new here, we explore the fascinating world of human psychology and relationships. Today's topic is one that's requested constantly in the comments, and it's something that confuses millions of men worldwide. Before we dive in, if you find this content valuable, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to create more content like this. Also, drop a comment below sharing your own experiences with this phenomenon. Now, let's get into it. Segment 1, The Paradox Explained. Let me tell you about Sarah and Mike. Sarah met Mike at a coffee shop, and there was instant chemistry. For 2 weeks, they texted constantly, had amazing conversations, and she seemed genuinely excited about him. Then suddenly everything changed. Her texts became short. She took hours to respond. And when Mike asked her out again, she said she was busy with work. Mike was devastated. He thought he'd done something wrong. But here's the twist. Sarah was actually falling for him harder than she'd ever fallen for anyone. And that terrified her. This is what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. And it's more common than you think. When a woman pushes you away despite wanting you, it's often because of these key psychological factors. Fear of vulnerability. The deeper her feelings, the more vulnerable she feels. Vulnerability can be terrifying, especially for women who've been hurt before. Self-protection mechanism. Her subconscious mind sees strong feelings as a threat to her independence and emotional safety. Testing your commitment. Sometimes, pulling away is an unconscious test to see if you'll fight for her or give up easily. Overwhelm. Strong emotions can be overwhelming, and creating distance feels like the only way to regain control. Let's explore each of these in detail. Segment 2, The Fear of Vulnerability. Vulnerability is arguably the most challenging aspect of human connection. When a woman starts developing deep feelings for you, she's essentially opening herself up to the possibility of being hurt. And the stronger the feelings, the greater the potential for pain. Think about it this way. Imagine you're about to jump off a cliff with a parachute. The higher the cliff, the more beautiful the view, but also the more terrifying the fall. That's exactly how intense romantic feelings can feel. I once worked with a client named Jessica who had this exact pattern. Every time she started falling for someone, she'd sabotage the relationship. Through our sessions, we discovered that her father had abandoned the family when she was 12. Her unconscious mind had created a protective mechanism. If I don't get too close, I can't be abandoned again. From a neuroscience standpoint, when we're vulnerable, our amygdala, the brain's alarm system, goes into overdrive. It's scanning for threats, and intense romantic feelings can trigger this threat response because they represent a loss of control. Notice these behavioral patterns. She opens up emotionally, then becomes distant. She shares something personal, then acts cold the next day. She initiates deep conversations, then avoids serious topics. She shows intense interest, then questions the relationship's future. But vulnerability isn't the only factor. Sometimes this behavior is actually a sophisticated psychological test. Segment 3, The Unconscious Testing Phenomenon. Here's something most men don't realize. When a woman pulls away, she's often unconsciously testing your emotional strength and commitment. This isn't manipulative, it's instinctual. From an evolutionary perspective, women have historically needed partners who could provide security and stability. A man who gives up at the first sign of difficulty might not be reliable long-term. So unconsciously, she's testing, will he fight for me or will he give up? Let me share another story. David was dating Emma, and things were going great until Emma suddenly became distant. David's friends told him to give her space and move on. But David sensed something deeper was happening. Instead of giving up, he sent her a thoughtful message saying, "I can sense you're pulling away, and I want you to know that whatever you're going through, I'm here. No pressure, just support." Emma later told him that message changed everything. She realized he was genuinely committed to understanding her, not just winning her over. This testing behavior often manifests as creating artificial obstacles to see how you'll respond, becoming emotionally distant to gauge your reaction, mentioning other men to see if you'll get jealous, canceling plans to see if you'll persist, acting uninterested to see if you'll chase. Now it's crucial to understand the difference between unconscious testing and genuine disinterest. Unconscious testing usually comes after a period of genuine connection and interest. Genuine disinterest is consistent from the beginning. The key is to respond with confident patience. Don't chase desperately, but don't give up either. Show that you're secure enough to handle her emotions and committed enough to work through challenges. I want to know, have you experienced this testing behavior? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else understand their situation better. Segment 4, the overwhelm factor. Sometimes a woman pulls away simply because the intensity of her feelings becomes overwhelming. This is especially true for women who are naturally introspective or have anxiety tendencies. I remember talking to a woman named Lisa, who described falling in love as like being caught in an emotional tornado. She said, "I couldn't think straight, couldn't focus on work, couldn't even enjoy time with friends because all I could think about was him." It was beautiful but terrifying. Neurologically, when we're falling in love, our brains are flooded with dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. It's literally like being on a drug. For some people, this chemical cocktail can be overwhelming, leading to anxiety and restlessness, difficulty concentrating, emotional volatility, physical symptoms like loss of appetite or insomnia. Certain situations make this overwhelm worse. Past relationships that ended badly, high stress periods in life, work, family, health, perfectionist tendencies, fear of losing independence, pressure from friends or family. I worked with a successful businesswoman named Rachel, who prided herself on being independent and in control. When she started falling for someone, she described it as losing herself. She pulled away not because she didn't want him, but because she needed to reconnect with her own identity. When overwhelm is the cause, you might notice, she mentions feeling confused or needing time to think. She becomes less available but doesn't seem angry. She expresses appreciation for you but needs space. She seems conflicted rather than disinterested. Understanding overwhelm is crucial, but there's another factor we need to discuss: the role of past experiences and trauma. Segment 5, Past Trauma and Protective Mechanisms. This is perhaps the most important section of today's video. Many women who push away when they want someone most are responding to past emotional wounds. This isn't about being damaged, it's about being human. Common experiences that create this pattern include previous relationships that ended in betrayal or abandonment, childhood experiences with inconsistent caregivers, being hurt when they were vulnerable before, witnessing unhealthy relationship patterns in their family. The mind creates protective mechanisms to prevent future pain. If vulnerability led to hurt before, the unconscious mind says, "Never again." So when feelings get intense, the alarm bells go off. Consider Maria, who was in a relationship for 3 years. She was completely open and vulnerable with her partner, planning a future together. Then she discovered he'd been cheating for months. The betrayal was devastating, not just because of the cheating, but because of how vulnerable she'd been. 2 years later, Maria met someone new. As her feelings deepened, her mind began protecting her. Don't get too close. Don't trust too much. Remember what happened last time? This connects to attachment theory. People with anxious or avoidant attachment styles often struggle with this pattern. Anxious attachment wants closeness but fears abandonment. Avoidant attachment wants independence but fears engulfment. Disorganized attachment wants connection but fears intimacy. The beautiful thing is that these patterns can be healed with patience, understanding, and sometimes professional help. Women can learn to stay present with their feelings instead of running from them. If you're dealing with this situation, remember that her pulling away isn't about you. It's about her healing process. Your role is to be patient, consistent, and emotionally available without being pushy. Have you ever had to work through your own protective mechanisms in relationships? Share your insights in the comments. Vulnerability in the comment section can help create a supportive community. Segment 6, Practical Strategies and Solutions. Now that we understand the psychology behind this behavior, let's talk about practical strategies. Whether you're a man trying to navigate this situation or a woman recognizing this pattern in yourself, these approaches can help. Do. Remain calm and patient. Give her space without disappearing completely. Communicate your feelings clearly and honestly. Show consistency in your actions. Be emotionally available when she's ready to talk. Respect her process and timeline. Don't take it personally or get defensive. Chase aggressively or become pushy. Try to fix her or her feelings. Give ultimatums or pressure her. Assume she's playing games or being manipulative. Give up at the first sign of difficulty. Here are some specific phrases that can help. I can sense you're pulling away, and I want you to know I'm here when you're ready. I care about you, and I'm willing to work through this together. There's no pressure from me. I just want you to know how I feel. I respect your need for space, and I'm not going anywhere. If you recognize this pattern in yourself, practice mindfulness to notice when you're pulling away. Journal about your feelings to understand your triggers. Communicate your needs clearly to your partner. Consider therapy to work through past traumas. Consider therapy to work through past traumas. Challenge negative thought patterns about relationships. Practice staying present with uncomfortable emotions. Creating emotional safety is crucial. Start with small vulnerabilities and build up. Celebrate progress, not just outcomes. Create rituals of connection and reassurance. Develop healthy coping mechanisms for anxiety. Build a support system outside the relationship. Remember, this process takes time. Healing doesn't happen overnight, and building trust requires consistency over weeks and months, not days. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with some final thoughts about this complex but beautiful aspect of human psychology. Let's recap the key insights from today's deep dive. When a woman pushes you away despite wanting you, it's usually because she's afraid of vulnerability and potential hurt. She's unconsciously testing your commitment and emotional strength. She's overwhelmed by the intensity of her feelings. She's responding to past trauma or protective mechanisms. The most important thing to remember is that this behavior comes from a place of self-protection, not malice. Whether you're experiencing this as a man or recognizing it in yourself as a woman, approach it with compassion and patience. These challenges in relationships aren't obstacles. They're opportunities for growth, deeper connection, and emotional maturity. The couples who work through these patterns often develop stronger, more resilient relationships. Love isn't always easy, but it's always worth fighting for, whether you're fighting for someone else or fighting through your own fears to become more emotionally available. Before you go, I want to ask you 3 things. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if this content helped you. Understand relationships better. Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else feel less alone. Suggest topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. I love reading your comments and seeing how this community supports each other. Some of the most insightful perspectives come from you, the viewers. Next week, we're diving into the psychology of attraction, why we fall for the wrong people. It's going to be another eye-opening exploration of human behavior. Remember, understanding psychology isn't about manipulation, it's about connection, empathy, and building healthier relationships. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.